Welcome to the Cigar Fati universe. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a really fascinating story. It's a secret that's kind of hidden in the smoke of a cigar, one that tells you more about a man than any biography ever could. And that man? None other than the great Luciano Pavarotti.
And that brings us to the central question, really. What on earth could an opera giant, a truly monumental figure, have in common with a small, kind of modest Swiss cigar? Believe me, the answer goes way deeper than you think. You're going to want to stick around for this. So first off, let's just picture the Pavarotti that everybody knows, right? The legend. We're talking about a voice that could fill stadiums without even needing a microphone, an appetite for life that was just as huge as he was, and a personality that was absolutely larger than life. He wasn't just a singer, he was a global icon, no question about it.
Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. Because behind that larger-than-life myth, the stadium-sized voice and all that energy, there was a totally different man. A man who in his private moments was looking for something much, much simpler. We're talking modest cigars, quiet rituals. What he was really after was authenticity. And that right there is where our story truly begins.
And at the heart of this whole mystery is a cigar called the Villiger. Now, look, we're not talking about some big, fancy, show-off Cuban cigar here. This is a small, Swiss, totally unpretentious smoke. And what's really wild is that he just stumbled upon it kind of on a whim a full 22 years before he became a household name.
So, you have to ask the question, right? It's kind of the elephant in the room. Why would a man who could afford literally anything, the most expensive, exclusive cigars on the planet, choose something so simple? This choice completely baffled people back in the day.
All right, so let's get into it. The answer had absolutely nothing to do with luxury or status or showing off his money. Nope. It was all about something he valued way more: authenticity. And this right here, this is the key to the whole thing. He wasn't smoking them to impress anybody. Think about it. In a world where cameras and eyes were on him constantly, he smoked these to do the exact opposite. It was about remembering who Luciano was before he became the global superstar Pavarotti. It was his connection back to his real, genuine self.
When you really stop and think about it, this choice was a perfect mirror of his art. For Pavarotti, true greatness in opera wasn't about being the loudest. It was about purity. It wasn't about showing off. It was about genuine expression. And his cigars, they were exactly the same: refined, pure, and completely without pretense.
So here's the bottom line. For him, this wasn't just about smoking a cigar. It was an emotional anchor. It was this small, simple thing that kept his feet firmly on the ground, that kept him connected to his true self, even when he was caught up in the absolute whirlwind of global fame.
And he didn't just light one up whenever. No, he had his own private rituals. He'd smoke one during quiet moments of reflection right before stepping out onto a major stage, or maybe during one of his solitary walks around his home in Italy, or especially during those deep, real conversations with his closest friends. For him, these were sacred moments.
The lesson Pavarotti leaves us with here is, it's incredibly powerful. What he teaches us is that true sophistication, real elegance, doesn't need external validation. It doesn't need anyone else's stamp of approval. It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be expensive, it just has to be real.
When you get right down to it, his legacy in the world of cigars is just as powerful in its own way as his legacy in opera, because they both teach us the exact same lesson: that genuine greatness often shows up in the most unexpected packages.
So now, I've got to turn the question over to you. In a world that's constantly pushing us to be flashy, to show off, to impress everyone, what's your Villiger? What's that one small, simple anchor that always reminds you of who you really are deep down? So if you like this, if you enjoyed it, or hey, if you just learned something new, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Because trust me, we're just getting started.